What's up guys, Michael here, part-time gamer, full-time dad with another too long didn't read beginner's guide for World of Warcraft. This time on the block it's going to be the Protection Warrior, so let's just get it started. A quick warning before we do start, this is simply a basics guide and my personal recommendations for a new Prot Warrior looking to get a feel for the class. As an aside to that, this guide will assume maxed or near max artifact traits and will not take into account any legendaries as it's just too random. So, Prot Warriors right now might not be the best tanks out there, but by no means are they the worst. Prot Warriors have great mobility and through active mitigation are relatively easy to heal, so they're a pretty decent choice all around. With that being said, we're going to start off with my talent suggestions. These talents, and in fact this entire guide, just so you're aware, will be focused on survivability over DPS. So first up, level 15, here your best bet is going to be to go with Shockwave, so you can keep multiple targets locked down at once. Bear in mind, this does not affect bosses. Level 30 should be Inspiring Presence for a couple of reasons. 1, it's passive, 2, it's good overall healing, and 3, the drawbacks of Safeguard and Impending are just too great to ignore. Level 45 is a choice of more overall damage. Best served cold is mainly for AoE and Avatar provides a nice on-demand burst. I personally, however, roll with Renewed Fury as it's entirely passive and you'll be using Ignore Pain a lot. Level 60 is pretty situational. I would say a good default choice is Crackling Thunder. Having an increased Thunderclap range is great for picking up adds as they enter the fight. Bounding Strike can be good in very high mobility fights though. For level 75, I would suggest Indomitable. Like I mentioned before, survivability is key here. Max health and max Ignore Pain amounts can't be ignored. Level 90 should be Vengeance. Since you'll be using both Ignore Pain and Revenge a lot, this talent only makes sense. Into the Fray, however, does have its place in large AoE. And finally, level 100, you'll most likely see the most gained out of Heavy Repercussions. With enough haste in this ability, you can, and if not, then almost can, maintain 100% uptime on Shield Block, which of course is extremely strong. So, Protection Warrior stats are pretty straightforward and should be sought after in this order. Haste, then a combination of Mastery and Versatility, 1-to-1 roughly, as they're pretty equal, and then Crit on the bottom as it doesn't do much for us. So gems. Grab yourself a Saber's Eye plus 200 strength in one slot and plus 150 haste quick dawnlight in your remaining slots. For your enchants, you're going to want Mark of the Heavy Hide for your neck for the increased survivability via armor, plus 200 strength on your cloak, and plus 200 haste on your rings. So with Relics, since again we're talking survivability, you're going to want Relics with the Vicral Shield training trait as well as Dragon Skin. Increased armor and Ignore Pain effect are both very strong. Thirdly, Toughness gives you an overall stamina increase. For your consumables, your flask should be Flask of the 10,000 Scars alongside the Unbending Potion, both for survivability. For food, obviously the Lavish Suramar Feast is your best bet, but if you're required to bring your own food, I would say go with the Ajari Salad for the added haste. Quick reminder though, if you want the strength buff over the stamina buff from the feast, you need to swap to Arms or Fury, eat, then swap back. One more quick aside, the Potion of Prolonged Power is probably better if you're going to be pre-potting for that little edged out damage. So the basic playstyle of the Protection Warrior is to weave in Ignore Pain and Shield Block depending on the damage type being taken, while building up your rage to use said mitigation. For your damaging abilities, you're going to always want to prioritize Shield Slam first, then Revenge to consume a Vengeance proc, then Thunderclap, then Revenge without a proc, and finally Devastate as filler. Since Revenge costs a lot of rage and we want to save that rage for Ignore Pain, we put it near the bottom. Only use it if you're about to cap your rage. In AoE, your priority becomes Revenge, Thunderclap, Shield Slam, then Devastate. For your active mitigation, we have Shield Block and Ignore Pain as mentioned before. Shield Block will prevent most, but not all, physical attacks from hitting you for 6 seconds. This is best used to prevent big boss swings you know are incoming, or to prevent a lot of add damage. This ability does absolutely nothing for magic damage, so instead that's where Ignore Pain shines. This ability places an Absorb Shield on you, preventing damage based on your attack power, versatility, and rage spent on use. One note here, Ignore Pain shouldn't be used while at full HP if you have a healer with HOTS, as this will prevent it from actually healing you. Prot Warriors have a wide variety of defensive cooldowns, so I'm just going to touch them on each one briefly. Shield Wall should be used right before you know heavy damage is incoming, preferably heavy sustained damage as it lasts 8 seconds. Last Stand should be used when your HP drops really low, or again in anticipation of big damage. This is kind of your oh shit button, but it still requires your healers to top you off fast. Demoralizing Shout should be used on cooldown. only delayed if there is an ability that's going to go off in the next 5 to 10 seconds that a 20% damage reduction on could really help you out. Spell Reflection is nice in theory, but doesn't do much against most raid bosses. This is best used against adds that do things like Frostbolts or Shadow Bolts. And finally, Nelthurian's Fury, your artifact ability, is essentially another shield block and should be used to fill gaps between. This is best used right before large amounts of blockable damage. Prot Warriors have a couple other spells worth noting as well. Battle Cry, which increases your crit, should simply be used as many times as you can throughout the fight. Provided you followed the build laid out before, you'll have Shockwave. Use this to lock down large groups of enemies for AoE situations, or just every time it comes off cooldown in a single target fight. You also have Pummel, which is your interrupt, but that's usually left to DPS. And Charge is a nice way to start a fight, or you could also use Heroic Throw if you need to pull one single mob or line of sight a pack. And finally, Berserker Rage, which you should use if you ever get feared, sapped, or incapped. It also prevents those things if you know it's coming. So with that, we've reached the end of this too long didn't read beginner's guide for the Prot Warrior. If this was at all helpful, hit the like button, get subscribed for more videos in the future, and leave a comment below letting me know what you do differently. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.